Let me ask you something. What if the most powerful thing you could do for your child's brain development costs nothing, requires no special equipment, no subscription, no app, no toy with blinking lights and 5 different languages? What if it was already available to you every single day and you were just never told how much it mattered? Most parents are doing their absolute best. They're buying the educational toys, playing the Mozart, signing up for the classes. And those things aren't bad, but research keeps pointing to the same quiet conclusion. The habits that matter most for early brain development are the ones that look the least impressive, the ones that happen in ordinary moments, the ones most parents skip, not out of neglect, but simply because nobody ever explained what was actually happening inside their child's brain when they did them. Today, that changes. Before we begin, tap like to help this reach more parents. Subscribe for more baby development insights and comment yes if you're here to better understand your child and be their strongest advocate. Here are 5 brain-boosting habits most parents skip, and why starting them today could change your child's trajectory in ways that last a lifetime. Habit 1. Narrating your day out loud. It feels strange at first. You're standing at the kitchen counter, chopping vegetables, and you start talking to a 4-month-old who can't respond, can't understand your words, and seems far more interested in a shadow on the wall than anything you're saying. And yet, what you are doing in that moment is one of the most neurologically significant things a parent can do for an infant. Here's what's happening inside that tiny brain. Every word your baby hears, even words they don't yet understand, is being processed. Neural pathways are being laid down. The brain is doing something researchers call statistical learning, tracking which sounds tend to follow other sounds, which words appear together, how language is structured, what the world is called. It is building, from raw input, the architecture it will eventually use to think, to communicate, and to understand the world. The research on this is striking. A landmark study by Hart and Risley found that by age 3, children from households with rich verbal environments had heard approximately 30 million more words than children from quieter households. And that gap, the word gap, correlated directly with vocabulary size, reading ability, and academic performance years later. 30 million words. Built 1 narrated diaper change, 1 described walk to the mailbox, 1 explained lunch at a time. You don't need to perform, you don't need to be educational or entertaining. Just talk. Tell them what you're doing. Name what you see. Describe what you're feeling. Your voice, more than any toy or screen, is the most sophisticated language learning tool your child will ever have access to. And the window when it matters most is open right now. Habit 2, waiting for the response. This habit sounds almost too simple to be worth mentioning, and that's exactly why most parents skip it. When you talk to your baby, when you ask a question, make a sound, or say their name, pause, wait, give them space to respond. Not because they're going to answer in full sentences, but because the pause itself teaches them something fundamental about how human communication works. Conversation is not a monologue. It is a back and forth, a turn-taking dance. And the brain learns that structure not from being talked at, but from experiencing it, from being given a turn, from feeling the expectation of response and discovering that their babble, their expression, their movement, all of it counts as a contribution. This is called serve and return interaction, and it is one of the most well-documented factors in healthy brain development. When a baby makes a sound or a gesture and a caregiver responds, and then waits, the brain receives a signal that communication is powerful, that I exist, I express, and the world responds to me. That understanding becomes the neurological foundation for language, for social connection, and eventually for confidence. The habit most parents fall into is filling every silence. We talk continuously, we narrate, we stimulate, all good things, but we forget to leave room. We forget that the pause is not empty. The pause is where the baby's brain is doing its most important work. Next time you're talking to your child, say something, then stop, look at them, wait, watch what happens. What you'll see is not nothing. What you'll see is thinking. Habit 3. Floor time without agenda. Ask most parents what they do during floor time and they'll describe the same thing. Sitting with their baby, offering toys, demonstrating how things work, encouraging specific movements, celebrating milestones, all of that is loving, and most of it is getting in the way. The most developmentally powerful version of floor time is the one where the parent does the hardest thing imaginable, nothing. Where you sit nearby, present and available, and you let your child lead completely. No redirecting, no demonstrating, no picking up the toy they dropped and showing them the right way to play with it. Just watching, just being there. What happens when a baby is given unstructured floor time without adult agenda is nothing short of remarkable. They reach, they fail, they reach again. They discover that objects have weight and texture and edges. They figure out by trial and error how their own body moves through space. They encounter frustration and, crucially, they learn to tolerate it, and because no one steps in to remove it immediately. This process, the struggle, attempt, discovery, is how the prefrontal cortex develops. The part of the brain responsible for problem solving, executive function, emotional regulation, and persistence. It doesn't develop from being shown the answer. It develops from being given the space to find it. 15 minutes of genuine, uninterrupted, agenda-free floor time every day does more for your child's cognitive development than most structured activities parents spend hours organizing. The floor is not empty. The floor is a laboratory, and your child is already a scientist. They just need you to get out of the way. Habit 4. Reading with conversation, not performance. Most parents read to their babies. This is wonderful, this matters deeply, keep doing it. But there is a version of reading that almost doubles its developmental impact. And most parents have never been taught it. It's called dialogic reading, and the concept is simple. Instead of reading the book straight through from cover to cover while your child listens, you pause, you point, you ask, you react. You let the book become a conversation rather than a performance. Point to the dog on the page. Say, "What's that?" Wait for any response. A babble, a point, a look. Then answer your own question. That's a dog, a big brown dog. Do you see his tail? Look, he's running. For older babies and toddlers, it goes further. What do you think happens next? Why do you think she looks sad? Have you ever seen one of those? These questions don't require a correct answer. They require engagement. And engagement is the state in which the brain learns fastest and most durably. Studies have consistently shown that dialogic reading accelerates vocabulary development, comprehension, and narrative understanding at a rate significantly higher than passive reading alone. The book is not the point. The connection built over the book, the shared attention, the questions, the back and forth, that is the point. And that connection is what gets stored long after the specific words are forgotten. You don't need more books. You need to use the ones you have differently. Habit 5. Protecting boredom. This is the habit that will feel the most counterintuitive, and it might be the most important one on this list. We live in an era of constant stimulation. There is always a screen available, always a toy, always a playlist or a show or an activity, and parents who want the best for their children feel an almost constant pressure to fill every moment with enrichment. But what neuroscience is telling us clearly, consistently, across decades of research is that boredom is not an enemy of development. Boredom is development. When a young child has nothing to react to, no flashing lights, no songs, no adult offering entertainment, the brain does not go idle. It activates what researchers call the default mode network. This is the neural system responsible for imagination, self-reflection, creativity, and internally generated thought. It is the part of the brain that learns to create rather than consume, to generate rather than receive. A child who is always entertained from the outside never develops the capacity to entertain themselves from the inside. And that internal capacity, the ability to sit with your own thoughts, to imagine, to self-direct, is one of the strongest predictors of creativity, emotional regulation, and academic success. The discomfort you feel when your child says they're bored is information. It's telling you that this moment is working, that something is being built right now that a screen would have interrupted. Let them be bored. Sit with your own discomfort while they sit with theirs. What they will discover in that space about themselves, about their imagination, about what they're capable of, is something no product on any shelf can give them. Before we close, tap like to help this reach more parents who need to hear it. Subscribe for more content like this, and comment yes if you're committed to showing up for your child in the ways that actually matter. Here is what I want you to carry with you after this video. None of these 5 habits require money. None of them require you to be a perfect parent. None of them require more hours in the day than you already have. They require presence. They require patience. And they require a willingness to trust that the quiet, ordinary, unglamorous moments, the narrated walk to the car, the pause after the babble, the 15 minutes on the floor, the book turned into a conversation, the afternoon with no agenda, are building something inside your child that the most expensive toy in the world cannot replicate. The brain your child is building right now is being built from the raw material of their daily experience. Every interaction, every moment of being seen, responded to, given space, and allowed to struggle. Every time you talk to them like their words matter before they even have words. Every time you wait, you are not just raising a child, you are building a brain. And the most powerful architect in that process is not a product, not a program, not a curriculum. It's you, showing up, paying attention, and doing the quiet work that most parents skip, because now you know why it matters. Your child is lucky to have someone who cares enough to find this out. If this video gave you something useful, a new habit, a new perspective, or just the reassurance that you're already doing more than you think, please share it with a parent who needs to hear it. Drop your yes in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.